Yes, fellas, welcome to Bala Sport. How you guys doing? Got my big brother with me, Eddie. Eddie P, what's going on, my guy?
What's going on, Moose? It's always a
Here,
pleasure.
appreciate you for taking your time again for being here, man. How's everything though?
Good, good, good. I can't complain not whatsoever. How's
Yeah,
your time off treating you?
it's great. I mean, of course, with the new baby, you might thinking they might get no sleep, but it's getting there.
Right, right, right. It's a process.
Yeah,
Definitely a process.
but man, we're heading to week 10
hmm
NFL already. Week 10, man.
It's flying by, right? That's the bad thing about the football season is you can't wait for it to come, but it seems like it flies by so fast.
Right. So week 10 kick off with a Thursday night football between the Ravens. Ravens host the Bengals.
hmm
The Ravens denied the Bengals a 2 points attempt to win the game 35-34. Lamar Jackson 25-23 out of 23, 291 yards, 4 touchdowns, 33 rushing, 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. And Joe Burrow 34 out of 56, season high 428 yards, 4 touchdowns. This is the third time against Baltimore's having over 400 yards per game. We all know Chase went off.
hmm
Dude, I don't think I've seen a wide receiver that went off like this in a long time. But what is your take on this game with the Ravens game?
So I'm gonna read you some stats, right? If I tell you a team had 27 first downs, um, 470 total yards, they had 75 plays. They had, let's see what else. They controlled time of possession. They had less penalty yards. The only stats they were not ahead of were sacks, turnover, and rushing yards. Everything else, and basically yards per play was almost even. You would
Right.
say that team won the game, right? No, they lost. The crazy thing is they had 7 more first downs than Baltimore. They had total yards 470 to 389. Um, the the total drives were even. They had like Baltimore had one more drive than they had. Uh, they had Baltimore had 50 more rushing yards, but they had no sacks given up to Lamar. And they Cincinnati only had 23 yards worth of penalties. Baltimore had 81. Time of possession was 31 to 28. So they did everything right except for close out the game. That's really what it came down to. Um, third down efficiency was almost even. Cincinnati was 8 for 16. Baltimore was 7 for 12. So it's not like Baltimore played this humongous game to beat Cincinnati. They just closed out the game when Cincinnati couldn't. That was really the tail of the game. Um,
Right.
I don't know what else you can do wrong. I mean, do right from an offensive standpoint. I mean, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase had a game.
Right.
So,
It's crazy how this like Cincinnati's for the past 3 seasons, I believe, or so, or even more, with the
mhm.
head coach, they always started slow, and then times like in November they want to pick up. How many close games does Cincinnati had to lose? I know there's a lot of things going around talking about should they went to the. Do you think that they should have went for two or go with the field goal and tie the game and go to overtime?
I
Was
mean,
that
it's
a right decision?
it's one of those things that if it works, it's the greatest play call ever. And
Right.
when it doesn't work, they should have never did that. You see it all the time in football. But at the end of the day, there was still too much time on the clock. They could have lost that way.
Yeah.
Um, it was just really they didn't have a good situation to go to. You could try to play for overtime, but as you see last week between Kansas City and Buccaneers,
Uh huh.
where that game really came down. I mean, this game really came down to who had the ball last. just like last week. So I don't know. I'm not a professional coach. Um, I don't know all the analytics with that, but I guess he felt that that was the right thing to do at the time.
Yeah, man, I agree with him, man. I think that was the right thing to do, especially if you're playing away and it's a divisional game. You're going against Baltimore, like you
I,
said, like what happened last week with the Buck and the Kansas City Chiefs. I definitely against the Kansas City Chiefs, everybody saying that you should have went for the two, knowing that they're the defending champs.
I mean, but at the end of the day, they really didn't stop Baltimore either. They had a game on the offensive side of the ball, but Baltimore really went up and down the field all night.
Right.
Um,
Well, Baltimore struggled in the first half, though. You know,
right. But the second half, they put it into high gear. I mean, it's one of those situations that if you get the 2-point conversion, you're probably going to win that game.
right.
But if you don't make the 2-point conversion, you could end up losing the game, and that's essentially what happened. They just didn't close out the game.
Yeah.
They played better than Baltimore. All the stats indicated that they played better than Baltimore, but even in the first game, they played
Right.
better than Baltimore. Joe Burrow's costly fumble just gave that team momentum, and then all of a sudden you open the door for Lamar to work his magic.
True. But going back to the 2 points at 10, now, was it a mistake not to throw it to Chase after knowing the game that he had? He had a one-on-one with a defender, number 21. What's his name? Taylor. Yo, he was getting
You know
abused at
what?
it.
I often question that. Like, if I'm gonna go for that, I want my best player to be. I'd rather live and die with my best player making that play.
Right.
Um, and that's just I can never understand that with people that have good offenses or have special players, they draw up something to get somebody else involved with that last play. If I'm gonna do that, I want to live and die with my best players. And I believe your best players want to live like that. Like if we don't get it, it's on us. Our coach gave us an opportunity to make this happen. We didn't come through. Players can live with that. But when
Right.
you draw it up for somebody else after the night that Jamar Chase had, I don't. I mean,
I mean, like you just say something that's very interesting. Do you think that coaches actually draw the play, or Joe Burrow
well,
just decided to just throw it to the
you
tight
know,
end?
I've seen it before. What was it last year? Dallas, Philly, and Philly. I don't know if you remember that, Moose, because Dallas beat y'all in Dallas last year,
Right.
and then y'all won in Philly, right?
Hmm.
And it came down to the last drive, and they drew up a play for Tolbert instead of getting CD Lamb the ball. Like, I want my best players, especially a head coach, like ride with your players. If your players can't be stopped, ride with them. If you've been getting him open all night, you could get him open again. And granted, sometimes defenses can dictate who you have to go to,
Right.
but you also have to put your player.
Yo, man, less content. Well, less service. Yo, big bro.
But as I was saying, I want to live in. I want to ride and die with my best players, um, getting those opportunities when the game is on the line to make those plays. Um, I don't know what else I could say to that. Like you want your best players to take the last shot, so
Right.
to speak. You draw up something to get them the ball. Granted, you can dictate who gets the ball, but you've been getting them. He almost had 300 yards receiving. You mean tell me you couldn't scheme him something to get him open for if you're going to do that? I mean,
Right.
so that's
And
why.
and
Go ahead.
and then like at the final play, he was one-on-one
Yes,
matchup at the outside
I'm taking
against a
that,
guy that he was destroying all night.
right?
You
I
know.
mean, you take that, right?
Right.
We saw it. What was it? A couple years ago, Vikings and Bills when Kirk Cousins threw it up to Jefferson, triple coverage. you give your players the chance to make that play.
Right. That's why I make them special plays. That's why I
Yeah,
make them unique or be the best players and one of the best players in the league. And Chase last time, I'm like, yo, this is crazy.
man,
What
he
an
was cooking,
entertaining game.
right? He was cooking.
Right. So we're still gonna stay at the Bengals side right now. So did the officials cost the Bengals the game from the
You
two
think
point
so?
attempt? Because no, I'm asking you a question. Like, did they? Because everybody's talking about there was a hold, there was roughing the passer, all these rumors at that time. Like,
Man,
did they really cost the game?
it's always a hold. In football, there's always a hold somewhere across the line. Let's just
Right.
be honest. It's you don't never want it to come down to one play. Anybody that's played any sports on any level,
Yep.
you don't ever want the chance for to put it in the ref's hands. If you would have made the plays you need to make throughout the game,
Mm-hmm.
that never comes into question.
True.
Um, so could it have been a bad call that cost you the game? It could have, but you had more than enough opportunities to close out that game and win too. So I don't know. I'm always on the fence when they say uh, that call cost you the game. It's never just one call. It's never just one play. It's a it's a series of plays, a series of calls um, across the time frame of a game.
All right. So this is actually funny because I'm gonna ask you a question about Lamar Jackson
Okay,
this season so far, bro. There's rumors, everybody talking about he might win another MVP. So far, he's performing like one because
it's his. It's his for him to lose.
he got 24 passing touchdown, same amount he had all last season, and this
Mhm.
is week 10. Still got 8 more games to go, bro. What a player has he become? What is your take on Lamar Jackson, especially in a game like this in the fourth quarter when he decided to just take over?
I think it's more about Derrick Henry than
Mm,
Lamar. I think the fact that you have given him a steady, because if you really look at Baltimore's last 3 years, their running backs have all been hurt going into the playoffs. Even when they had J.K. Dobbins, what he tore his Achilles last year, and seemed like every running back they got last year got injured to some extent. Um, but Derrick Henry makes it so hard for you to defend them. Um, it's either you're gonna sell out to stop the run, or you're gonna try to stop the pass. There's not very there's not very te- there's very few teams in the NFL that can do both. Um, where they can stop the run and the pass, where they have good coverage guys and a solid front seven. It's not very a lot of teams that can do that. Um, that's one reason why Kansas City always give Baltimore fits, because they can do that. They can cover and they can
right.
stop the run with their front seven. But I think Derrick Henry just opens up so much for Lamar. Um, you have to play them up front. Like, you can't go to a nickel to stop them. You almost have to stay in your base defense. 3 linebackers on the field, 4 down linemen if you want to stop their running game. Well, they can beat you with the play action. They can beat you with the read option. It's basically about picking your poison. The teams that's going to beat Baltimore is Baltimore.
Right. Right. Especially in the first half, bro. I feel like Baltimore started slow.
Yes.
Baltimore, like I was questioning the head coach. I mean, the play calling.
Mm-hmm.
It's some of them didn't even make sense. You could hear from the home fans, especially when it was down 21-7. There's a guy that shows they talk about you guys are playing like crap out there. Kind of, it was crazy. But then I don't know what happened, man. The second half, man. Lamar with a scramble. Lamar just decided to take this and question. Do you? I'm trying to figure out how did they really use Derrick Henry, because it seemed like in the first quarter, so basically in the first half, we don't see much of him. He spent most of the time at the sideline. Is that part of the game plan? Then use him in the second half, or what do you think?
Man, I wish I could answer that. It could be a different things though. It could be how they were playing them. They could have been playing um, what it may look to us on TV, they could have had a loaded box where they were just selling out to stop their run.
Right.
Um, and maybe Baltimore didn't want to run against a loaded box. Um, maybe they thought that they were going to come out and just pass the ball. That happens a lot, though.
Yeah.
I think sometimes coaches overthink the game plan. Oh, they're not going to let us run, so we're going to pass. Or they're not gonna let us pass, so we're gonna run. And even when they played against Cleveland, albeit it's a divisional game, they started really slow in that game,
Yeah.
really really slow. And then that game they were never really able to pick it up against the Browns. I mean, they scored some points, but they didn't play a good game at all.
Yeah.
Let me see.
I mean, you could look at it, both defense, because I want to get to the defense of both teams. Both defense, I think, I don't know what defense worse, the Cincinnati defense or the Baltimore Ravens defense. But now that we're looking at Cincinnati, we don't know what's their fate is going to be, whether they're going to make it to the playoff or not. But Baltimore seems like it's a team that's going to make it to the playoff, and they're more of a Super Bowl contenders right now.
Mm-hmm.
But with that defense, can Baltimore make it to the Super Bowl with that defense?
Yes, I think what's hurting Baltimore is they're missing the scheme. Their scheme of McDonald was like it was lights out last year. Um, you couldn't, and they're missing their other linebacker that went to Pittsburgh.
Right.
Oh man,
So they don't have these guys. So with this current roster right now with the defense, the way they're giving up, you seen what happened against Jameis Winston over there. Now we're seeing what Joe Burrow, of course, is capable of doing with Chase.
mm-hmm.
So the like of Patrick Mahomes, even if Buffalo get stuff together with the new wide receiver Mari Cooper, seeing quarterbacks could just running routes on them. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's a good defense for them moving forward. What can they do any different, bro? Because I don't think anything will change at this point, unless Lamar and the offense just got to keep on scoring 30 points every game.
It like I said, it all. You're right. Lamar he can be dynamic, but I really think that um it's going to be interesting how their new acquisition and I can't think of the corner they just got from the Rams. He used to be an
Oh
All
yeah,
Pro.
yeah.
It's going to be interesting how he fits into their system. Can he get back to Pro Bowl level and be another shutdown corner? We'll see. We know their safety Kyle Hamilton is legit, but I don't know. It's just something off about their dude, and I really think it's just a scheme. They're missing Patrick Queen that played next to Roquan Smith last year.
Okay.
Those linebackers were able to cover sideline to sideline. It wasn't a lot you can do to them last year as far as speed wise. Do I think one or two players hurt your defense all that much? No, but if that player, the drop off between Patrick Queen and the next player that they got to replace him, if that drop off is so significant, you could try to cover up those players, and your defense not as strong as what it was the year following.
Okay.